love the hashtag girl boss and lady boss. And obviously with those hashtags come great responsibility. Can you tell us, what it means to you to be a female boss? And are there challenges, specific challenges, being a female leader of your own company that you founded, Bando?
Yeah. I feel like it's been interesting, even with everything that's been going on just in society. I almost feel like an outlier having not really experienced that. Like, I've had a super positive experience being a female leader. My company is mostly women. We have a few guys that we let in, and it's actually owned by a married couple. So one of our owners is a man, and the president of our company is a man. So it's not, I think a lot of times from the outside in, people just assume it's like all women, but which can get dangerous at times too. But the men that I work with have always just been incredibly respectful. They've never said or done anything that I feel like I should knock on something that has made me feel like because I was a woman, this was happening. In fact, I emote all over the place at work, and they embrace it. So I don't know. I think they probably think it's part of what makes Bando Bando. But so it's, I'm happy to be a part of that movement too. But I also feel like I've just been really lucky in my experience. So I'm grateful for that every day.
That's so great to hear.
Yeah.
It can be so risky and scary, no doubt, to start your own business.
Yeah.
What is some advice that you would want to give to that female or male entrepreneur who wants to make that leap like you did?
Yeah, I always say when people ask me that, my advice is don't do it because it's really hard. And I feel like that was the advice that I received more than any other advice, was like, are you sure you want to do this? And then I think beyond that, if I give you that advice and you're like, I'm not going to listen to you, I want to persevere, then you're more cut out for business and starting your own business than someone who would be deterred by that. It was really hard. We didn't go in with a plan to be like, this is what we're going to do. We're going to build this company. We're going to sell this company. We're going to grow this company. We just wanted to sell some stuff on the internet. And so I think if I saw the future, I would have been much more intimidated. But even during those early years, and it was very, very hard, nothing else seemed like the right thing to do. Like, I gave up another career, I gave up a lot of free time with my family, and Bando always seemed like my beacon. So I feel like if it doesn't feel like that to you, it's probably not worth pursuing. That's my advice that I give to people that come to me about that, because otherwise you can just work for someone else and have a really rewarding career too, and not have to make the mountain of sacrifices that you do if you're a business owner.
The answer that you gave and about the idea of balance and work, can you tell me, as a result of what you just said, what does work-life balance mean to you? And are there certain things you need to prioritize above others? Can you tell us a little bit about that?
For sure. So this year will be our 10th year in business. So thank you. Yeah, I think it's a really big deal, actually. But my relationship with work-life balance has changed a lot from when I started, because when you're starting a company and it's sweat equity, we didn't have an investor or anything like that, there was no balance. There was only work.
Wow.
And that was a mistake on my part, but you're just obsessed, and it's rewarding and it's growing and you're seeing it, and you feel like every moment I'm not doing it, I'm not moving the business forward. In more recent years, I feel like I started to understand the toll that takes on my well-being, my mental health, my relationships. And so I try and at night, don't revisit work unless I wasn't able to be productive during the day. Make time. I had a doctor 2 years ago tell me, you need to make time for fun. And I was like, and meanwhile, we have the most fun company ever. And I needed a doctor to tell me you need, so I think essentially she was like, you need to balance yourself a little bit more. But it's a trap that I feel like a lot of people that have startups fall into. So now it's just setting guidelines and being careful about not becoming too obsessed with something that will get done the next day. if I don't do it on that day.
So just to make sure I understand that right, because your job is fun, and a lot of people
Yeah.
be like, look at what she does, that's so fun. And a lot
Yeah.
of us that are lucky to like love what we do.
Yeah.
So when this doctor's saying that, they're saying you need some like non-work
Other
fun.
fun. Other fun.
That's
For
not
sure,
work-related.
like my job is so I love it. Like I love it. It's changed and evolved many times over the 10 years, but it's still my favorite thing. But it is super stressful. Like it's fun, but there are other things. There are challenges and complications and hard days. And so yeah, she was like, you essentially like, I think like 2 days later, I like went and rode a roller coaster. She's like, go for it.
Great.
So yeah,
Something completely
out
out of the ordinary.
Yeah, which may not be fun for everyone, but for me, I love roller coasters. So.
I would be scared, but I'm glad you went for it. Yeah. Tell me about the best career advice anyone has ever given you.
Yeah. Well, like I said, a lot of the advice was don't do this as far as business goes. But I do have, I remember very early on when I was doing set decorating, I was like assisting, and I was in a meeting, and my boss at the time was like, she just looked at me. She was so mean. But she just looked at me and she was like, you should be writing this down. And I was probably 24 at the time, and I was like, I don't need to write things down. Like, I'm very sharp. And that is something that legitimately has stuck with me my whole life. And the people that work around me know I love to write things down. Now, reading it and revisiting what I've written has been the actual struggle. But I remember that I remember that feeling of like, there's going to be so much information in your work life. Like you have to find a way to record it and work with it. And so strangely, like that has always stuck with me more than anything else. Yeah.
That's cool to hear, and it's such nice like lo-fi advice, because I know all the people that are like the apps for organizing and taking notes, but there's something so nice about the tactile element of writing it, and I think it's good for our brains too. Like it gets them thinking in a new way. Whereas like entering in our phones doesn't.
No, and I'm 46, so I wrote a lot. Like, computers are second for me. I did most of my work writing, and so yeah, I still like very tactile things.
Well, and it's nice too to have a list in your notebook and cross through it versus like even checking it off in an app. There's something so great about crossing that off. It's done.
I agree.
We love following you on Instagram. You've been so open about, the emotional issues with depression or ADHD that you've been going through, all different things. Do you ever feel nervous that vendors or business partners or anyone, like, what are they going to think or how they might potentially judge you from that?
It's funny. I'm not a thinker in that way. I like to think of myself as a thinker, but the thought has crossed my mind, and I remember the president of our company probably a year or two ago, I noticed he started following me on Instagram, and I was like, you might not want to do this because I don't know if this channel is going to be like what you want. And he was like, you know what, get out there and be yourself. Like he was always very supportive, and I feel like I have found a way to use it to my advantage, but not in a commercialized way, but just like I think it makes myself and Bando more accessible. And the whole point of me having my own social media and not just working everything through Bando is because I thought it would make for an interesting lens into the company, because it's harder as a business to talk about politics and mental health and all of that, even though businesses are evolving and are able to do that. But like we're a product-based business, so you do have to be careful. Whereas for me, I sort of have the freedom to do what I want. And the feedback has been so overwhelmingly positive that I think if I'm alienating people or it makes them, think twice about doing business with that, they haven't said it yet, or they're just quietly retreating. But for the most part, it's felt very positive. So they're just like, unfollow.
I don't believe that.
Cancel our order.
See how many Instagram followers you have. They're not unfollowing. Last question, Jen. What's the one message that you'd like to get out there to other women and entrepreneurs?
Yeah, I mean, listen, I think, and I sort of alluded to it throughout, but I do feel like, especially now, being able to feel hopeful and positive has been so impactful in my life. And, you know, Bando, we've been so committed to just being a bright spot in people's lives. And I would say anything that you can do to let that in, you know, even in a very dark time for a lot of people, it's been so impactful for me. And so hopefully, I know sometimes that's, like I said, annoyingly optimistic, but it's worked for me, so.
It's so great to hear, and it's so nice to hear your point of view and that it's just so genuine it comes across. So thank you so much.
It's all the tequila.
I didn't get to do any shots before this interview.
We can do it.
Okay, no. That's how we close it all.
I didn't either, for the record.